with Big Al
and Special T.
We're happy to be coming to you from Cypress Street Radio, AOC Community Media streaming broadcast.
Look for us every day of the week. Our 8 a.m. show will start your morning off right. That's right in a good way.
Not right as in radical right. We bring you good ideas, good pastime, and who knows what else.
With a progressive flair. I think we need to kind of get that timing. Let's just say it normal. With a progressive flair.
Oh,
well, eventually. What do we do? Our 7 p.m. stream is a great backdrop for decaf and peace of mind. So either way, find yourself something that you enjoy, whether it's water or tea or coffee or something a little stronger. Sit back and enjoy our show.
As Willie would say, coffee, tea, or something stronger.
Yeah, or something stronger.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. Actually, I won a door prize recently.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and believe it or not, it's got something stronger in it. I never heard of this before. I should have brought it to show off my bottles. It's like a margarita wine. Now, I don't know, but one of them is like gold, and one of them's green, and one of them's pink. Sort of a hot pink, and it's strawberry mango and traditional margarita wine. I have not cracked any of them open yet, so but it certainly looks nice on my shelf.
Well, that's what is it supposed to taste like, a margarita or something?
I think so. I think so. It probably isn't as strong a proof as it would be with tequila.
Yeah,
but maybe it's genetically modified.
Could be.
And I've heard this thing recently that somebody's saying that when they get the COVID vaccine, it's going to genetically modify your DNA.
Yeah. There's all kinds of interesting ideas people have about vaccines.
I guess that and the microchip, but it's kind of sad news with regard to the Bill Gates personal life, but it doesn't affect his foundation really.
Yeah, I think he'll probably survive.
Yeah, I think they're reasonable people. There'll probably not be any drama, I wouldn't think.
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I'm sure the media will try to turn it up. Yeah.
But that they're good people, and people change. They just grow up and older, and things just change sometimes. So.
I'm gonna make a prediction that they'll both still be fairly comfortable.
Yeah, I imagine they will be. That's probably true.
Yeah, you think?
I think so. I really do. We've got but there's a lot of craziness going on. I was kind of looking through the news and all this business with Israel right now, and the bombing and mayhem between them and the Israeli Arabs and the Gaza area. That's the same thing that Jimmy Carter spoke out against some years ago, with the fact that Israeli nationals were claimed to have bought out the property somehow and are trying to put settlements into the middle of places where there's more Palestine residents, because it was supposed to be like a separate state. I don't know, but it's just a systematic infiltration with the motive of just hijacking the land as their own.
Yeah, they don't seem to be getting along real well with the Palestinians still.
Yeah.
Of course, that doesn't seem like that's anything particularly new.
No.
But I don't know. Have we had any can't boycott Israel bills come across lately? I haven't.
Oh, I doubt it. I mean, we're so infiltrated here with the idea that we're a Judeo-Christian background, and but the really interesting thing is that while there's so much upheaval in Israel, I mean, here for years and years and years, we've all gotten along just fine. I mean, Miami is a perfect, and New York, that there's, for the most part, at least the circles that I was in, there's not any type of harsh tension for sure. We got best friends that are, Muslim and Christian and Jewish and Arab and, the backgrounds like that. And at least in my school, we were all together and we didn't have any problem that I'm aware of. Of course, we did supposedly have rat court where one of our vice principals got one of the people that I knew in my classes and stuff. She was pretty much an academic and got her pulled into something like rat court. And they were trying to get her to talk about her parents during the McCarthy era. Believe it or not.
I thought that was actually a little bit earlier than that. I thought the McCarthy period was before 1960, really.
Well, there was some carryover apparently because Barbara Streisand got sort of pulled into that, and it kind of made news and just.
Well, there was the Committee on Un-American Activities. I don't know how long that went over.
Yeah, that was probably it because it had things to do, I guess, with the Vietnam War and all that business.
Well, what? Interestingly enough, a lot of this had to do with labor at the time, and you had
I know the traffic controllers later on, they had a strike and got fired.
Yeah, that was August 3rd, 1981.
That was
well, but see, the thing is, right after, and this is, I've told you about Professor Wolf before.
Mm-hmm.
He lines this out. It's like a history lesson. And you start right at the end of the end of World War II, 1945.
Right.
There was a concerted attack on labor starting then. And I mean, various things were done, and it's not opinion or speculation. It's all in the record. It's all in the congressional records and the newspapers from the time, the different official records of various things. But a lot of people didn't. Well, a lot of people, I say, actually, it was a small minority of the people did not like the New Deal.
Yeah.
And so, even though Russia or the Soviet Union or the people we're talking about, even though they're largely responsible for defeating the Axis in Europe, they there were different powers that be or groups or whatever you want to call it that didn't want to see any kind of path towards socialism that might help, the common person in the United States, even though all the stuff we have that's you know,
All the
really, you
people
might
that
not
don't
call
realize that they're common people. It's just like, hello, you know.
well, there's so many temporarily embarrassed millionaires. See, that's what the deal is. People think they're not really the common people. They're just temporary embarrassed millionaires. And
gosh, that's a good one.
uh,
That's a good one. Yeah.
well, it's not mine. I just remember good stuff, you know.
Uh-huh.
I think it was John. What was the writer? I have a picture of him, but I can't think of his name. But maybe it'll come to me. But it's I mean, it's like kind of what's going on here locally lately, you know, with libraries, for instance. And,
man.
Yeah, I went to a meeting the other day.
You did? Yeah. How was it?
Yeah. Well,
was it a library meeting or was it a city council, parish council meeting?
Well, it was kind of a library control board meeting, and there's a consortium, I think, of 7 parishes that where you can, you know, they exchange books real easily, or you can, you know, it's like one big happy family, basically.
Okay. Was this developed by the library or somebody from the outside?
No, I think this is kind of a separate, and I'm trying to think of the name of it, but that escapes me too. But I mean, it's amazing. I mean, this has been around for decades.
Okay.
You know, this group, and it was an interesting meeting. I mean, there are definitely certain groups and entities here in Lafayette that are trying to target things that basically, it seems like to me, things that benefit some of the people on the lower part of the socioeconomic spectrum. And, you know, which is kind of sad, but that, you know, it goes back to, I know this seems like a stretch, but it goes back to 1945, same thing. You know, I mean, it's like they're, you know, still into the divide and conquer thing and keep the proles. And for anybody who doesn't know about that, I'm talking about the proletariat from 1984, which everybody should read too. But it's something else, really. I mean, you know, why not have a good place where everybody's happy and has resources and stuff like that? You know, I mean, it's not like we can't do it.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've got the library has this really cool like outreach program where they try specifically to help bring books and access to reading.
Yeah.
To areas where the children or whatever might not have an easy access, and they've got the Go Bibliomobile, and we had a great event with the working together of there's a guy that does an after school program who's affiliated with, I guess, ministry. He's got this thing called A Heart for Children, and the Rotary Club that I'm in, and the sheriff's department, the sheriff's office, and all their deputies, and we had posted that we were doing this and looking for volunteers. So we have had connection with ACLA, which is the Asociación Cultural Hispanic Latino de Acadiana. Okay. English and Spanish descent together, who are able to speak or want to be able to speak and communicate with the Hispanic community in our area. Okay. And it was real interesting because we had been working on this thing for months. There's a team of 8 folks who've been working on this. Mm-hmm. And we ended up pulling together, and the sheriff cooked hamburgers. It wasn't the sheriff, but the outreach community outreach in the sheriff's department, made some hamburgers. The bookmobile came from the library. We read a book about, for this one, I mean, we're going to read Spanish and English books, but this was a book that's been developed by the FFA called Who Grew My Soup, or Who Grew the Soup, about a little kid that they wanted to eat his vegetable soup, and he's like, I didn't want to eat his vegetable soup. And goes into all the vegetables and things that are there and who grows them and everything else. And in the end, the kid's excited about growing soup, and so the soil was brought in little cups, and everybody got to plant some vegetable seeds, and we'll see what happens as time goes on. Whether they water them and maybe can show them off later on, maybe in a month or two. But anyway, the ACLA group had Walmart say, hey, we have some hand sanitizer. We already had hand sanitizer. Rotary Club funded all the things to clean up before they went into the bibliomobile. I mean, that was something that had been organized way, way back, and they've got a stash of this stuff. And lo and behold, I don't know if it was Walmart, but I'm really miffed at KATC because they attributed, or Walmart hijacked our event and acted like they were a sponsor. They'd have done nothing for our group, nothing. They're not a part of it at all. And so I was really surprised and disappointed. But Captain America, I don't know, but it's just really shocking. So I don't know. Maybe need to get all the other television stations that'll do their research and give the truth about what's going on. I don't know.
Well, that's kind of interesting.
It is interesting.
I hadn't heard about that, but I'm not surprised.
Well, probably not a lot of people. And if I make a big deal out of it, more people will hear about it. But it sounded like the thing that went out there was a commercial for Walmart to say, we're so wonderful to the Hispanic community and we're doing this for you. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. This was not even isolated to the Spanish community. It's everybody at these apartments, which goes the gamut. I mean, got old people, very young people, babies, young couples, the whole thing. Everybody, lots of different places are from lots of different places. We have Asians there too. So
really,
yeah. So I was just like, this just blew my mind. It just blew my mind. False news.
Okay, now I was looking at it, trying to find, it's the Bayou Land Consortium or the Bayou Land Group. Does that ring a bell with you at all?
No, I've not heard of that, but I love radio and AOC.
Well, that's
my favorite news sources.
That's the group of 7, I think it's 7 parishes that have kind of pool their resources for the library.
So is it Acadiana? Is it like St. Martinville and New Iberia and St. Landry and Lafayette and Vermilion and Acadia Parish? That's kind of the Acadiana. When they had Acadiana planning, there was a group that was trying to get the bus service to bring in buses across the parish lines to UL and the hospitals. And they actually did that between Acadia Parish and Lafayette Parish. Well, Acadiana planning was responsible.
I mean, this was to the best of my knowledge, and I hadn't even heard of it prior to going to this meeting, but it's just to get help the resources become more available to everybody in any of these parishes.
Oh, that sounds like a good thing.
Well, it is. I mean,
but they should not be in competition with the big library. I mean,
no, I don't think they are. I mean, it's just it's a cooperative effort. My understanding.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because all this stuff about, taking control of access to information for our library patrons away from the, anyway, to me seems kind of weird.
Well, as long as we hear both sides on the voting discrimination and Jim Crow laws. I mean, the good side and the bad side, right?
Right, right. That's so true. Well, that brings up some interesting things going on in a different place too, because I went to visit. I was in Asia for a while, and the access to information from China is, more
limited.
Frequent. It's more frequent there. I mean, there's a lot of news that crosses the East Sea between Japan and Korea and all that from China. And Korea, I mean, it's a peninsula off the coast of,
I've heard that.
The northern Korea is right next to China, and South Korea is right next to North Korea. So there's the area in between where they've got, some water and islands and stuff like that. But anyhow, there's been a lot in the news lately in Europe and America. There's some more tension between us and China than there had been. There was actually a lot of collaboration before Trump got in and started the tariff wars,
He sure punished those Chinese, though.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know. But the bad thing is that they were able to use the craziness that was going on to really ramp up their reputation as far as, trying to be more of a world citizen. Well, we were not. We were trying to be, according to Washington, the movement was toward being isolationist. But
I don't mean to interrupt you. It just brings up stuff that I think is funny.
Okay. Will you want to share?
Well, I'm just thinking about making America great,
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. Well, there was things happened that made it not so great. But anyway, the Chinese started, actually trying to do some stuff that involved, being better stewards of the land and helping their more oppressed. It seemed like. But actually, there was something going on sort of under the radar as far back as 2014, where they started building these camps for re-education, and they call them like vocational camps.
Yeah.
And in the process, there has been a huge movement in China that has elevated people who are in extreme poverty to more of middle class, and accolades for that, even from national groups like NATO, I guess, the international.
Well, yeah. Well, if you look at it statistically, if you look at the number of people, the sheer numbers for one thing, but the people that have been brought up out of poverty. China is, it's pretty amazing.
It is amazing. And that there was a lot of talk about their successes on the news when I was over there visiting Korea, and I actually recorded some of that we probably would never see on the news here, and. When we have our break, we might see just a few clips, some things that they've done in agriculture, but also the things, a piece that we would not see is all the beauty and art that they have. I mean, you're talking such an old civilization.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I did. No, I thought you were.
I was.
Sometimes it's. I mean, it's like you're not saying that the news or the mainstream news we get here in the United States is a little bit edited or slanted or anything like that.
Well, we have a great tendency among our population who has not been outside of the nation to widely spread that America is the very best at everything.
Oh yeah, of course we are. We're exceptional.
And I like, there's a lot of good here. There's a lot of good, but there's a lot of good everywhere. And there's places where we fall short, fall short in comparison to other countries, but that some people would never admit to.
Well, when you control the information,
you get to say what you want. So let's look at another side. How about that?
Yeah, well, I guess.
Is that what that means?
You said something about a break too, I think.
Yeah, a break.
Specialty. So maybe we should take a break for a few minutes. What do you say? Okay.
From 2016 to 2020, the central government increased the funds to eradicate poverty by an additional 20 billion yuan every year. That's an extra $3 billion annually. In 2020 alone, total funds to eradicate poverty reached nearly 150 billion yuan. That's more than $22 billion. Since late 2012, China has sent more than 3 million cadres to impoverished villages to fight poverty on the front line.
比如说，我连续
I've been to Shanxi Province, Mizhi County several times. The county's party secretary comes from PetroChina. He shared his resources experience about the construction of the county. For example, the county's infrastructure has developed very well. They've also set up e-commerce platform to sell their agricultural products.
The country has also put forward many targeted measures to eradicate poverty. These include developing local industries, setting up microfinance programs, as well as establishing online platforms to sell agricultural products.
我们用搬迁计划。
China has also put forward a relocation program helping to move people living in remote areas to the regions which are more suitable to live. 10 million of China's residents have participated in it.
This place looks like a fun fair. 这些羊看上去像是应该是卖的，对吧？但是为什么这个体验式的这种想法是从哪来的？
这其实也是我们农场的产业规划来的。我们首先呢是建设那个产业项目，其次呢我们就想发展那个农业休闲旅游。体验式的种养呢也是我们休闲旅游的内容之来。然后我们通过那个体验式的种养呢，就吸引大家来亲身体验农业生活，体验那个劳作的乐趣，也方便我们宣传我们的农场的产品，也有利于我们传播我们的种养经验，从而吸引更多的人来我们农场助力农场增收。
So Mr. Luo said they are trying to attract more visitors come to the village because given the fact that they're making two different steps. The first step is the development of farming industry, and the second step is actually the development of tourism industry. And then they're merging them together. It's also a process of the product marketing. 那今天
Okay, so that probably is a little bit more. Chinese
I like to get close to the source as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is that when all this was going on too, and it wasn't in the news, was that I think on the 17th of February, and I was there during that time, and left like March the 1st. CNN was banned from reporting from within mainland China. Their journalist who was there as a reporter moved. He had to leave and set up at Taiwan. But the issue, I think, I mean, I'm not sure that this was, but we started hearing things from China about, pay attention to your own business and leave our politics alone, and they've done that as far as the civil rights and stuff. And that's where all the uproar, at least, is being, as far as the mainstream trying to, point to that as the reason for discontent. But there is some, it's kind of, there's some problems foreseen as far as the civil rights, concentrating on the camps where they're re-educated.
Uyghurs or the Uyghurs or whatever you call them.
The Urgis or Urgis, which includes some like Turkish Muslim groups within that thing. And there's talk that it's really like a concentration camp or a work camp where, lots of people are going in and not coming out, and families are sort of, they say, separated, and it's really, and like was brought up, we were having this stuff with the immigrants and the children in cages and being separated from their families. It's just a case of really, we did do stuff that makes it where we really have no place to judge.
Kind of a calling the kettle black syndrome.
Well, as far as the leaders go, but I mean, there's a lot of us who would never have done that in the first place. So, I mean, it's just an ideological and moral standing as far as, what's right and what's wrong. But I've always held to the fact that, there's a lot of things that just don't go right with what might be okay for you. And if you're not in the same shoes as the people, you shouldn't judge.
Well,
I don't know. There's an interesting book about China that was written some time ago called The Wild Swans, that follows about 4 generations of women in China. And if you start out, long ago when they were binding feet, they certainly have, things have gotten better. But there's still problems. There's problems everywhere.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's, you get some person or some group and they want to control things that, it's kind of if you have to be oppressive, I mean, of course, sometimes it's hard to reason with some people, I mean, and I'm not saying, I'm not advocating foot binding or anything like that, but I mean, here in this country, we have such a group of people that were so conned over the last presidential period, shall we say, that, and how do, I mean, you can't really put them in camps, and I understand some of the mechanics behind what's going on, but how do you reason with someone when the stable data, the information they have is so wrong, so incorrect, and so fallacious. But I don't know. I don't know what the specifics are on that particular thing in China. I mean, there's been a big thing in China ever since I guess World War II or after World War II.
Well, there were
and Chiang Kai-shek.
Yeah, and it was like a real moment of elation when we actually opened up the dialogue with China. And believe it or not, that was under Nixon and Kissinger. When they actually started having dialogue and everybody was so excited about it. And oh, by the way, Nixon was a Republican.
Yeah.
Hello.
Well, that was the ping pong democracy.
Yeah. So anyway, and there have been with President Obama, there were a lot of programs where there were educational exchanges, where the universities here were opening the doors by invitation of China to actually go there and travel to different cities, these college students, and learn the culture and interact with the people and make friends. So I don't know. There's been some comparison to what's going on now with our new administration as being somewhere between where we were socially and as far as the trade and everything else, between where we were with President Obama and where we were with Donald Trump. So where we are with Biden is somewhere in the middle of those two, if you use those two as extremes.
Yeah, well, I could go on and on about that, but I guess when you get right down to it, why not try to be on a friendly basis with all the countries
as much as you can,
Yeah.
And not be, killing people with drones or anything else, which was interesting to see what China was doing with drones. They were actually planting fields.
Really?
Yeah. They were like in like you talked about something as far as being in regiment, or they were flying like alongside of each other down the field.
Formation. Wow.
Yeah, in formation. It was cool.
I hadn't seen that, but then that makes sense. I mean, of course we have crop dusters and stuff like that over here, but I mean, that hadn't even really occurred to me, I don't think. But with the computer technology and the GPS and all that, I mean, you could have I bet that would get the crop duster guys a little bit. I bet they would be.
Yeah, they wouldn't have to go so high or go so low. You just start out and go right down the path.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, think about that. I mean, there's a payload capacity, of course, you have to consider, but wow, that's interesting. Yeah. I hadn't seen that.
Well, you need to watch our film that we're going to show, that we just showed.
Okay.
You need to watch it when we replay.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. I mean,
and that's part of the systematic rise out of poverty for a lot of the Chinese. It's utilizing these ideas that are outside the box, including actually encouraging tourism to come over and see the workings of the farm.
Yeah, maybe we could learn how to build a wall if we all went over there and studied it.
The real wall, a wall that still has tunnels underneath it, but and let's at the same time, I noticed that China has stopped reporting any, at least maybe it's just as a CNN thing. They don't have any reports on or Wikipedia on the national COVID cases. When did it stop? The last one I saw was January 26th. Yeah, nothing.
I thought they were doing really good with it, but I don't know.
They are. Maybe there's nothing, but if there's nothing in February, you're like, okay. The last report that I showed for this international data on COVID stopped in China on the 26th of January.
Yeah, I thought India was doing well, but they
India is horrible right now. India, as of May the 6th, had 412 average cases for a 7-day average. 412,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And then let me see. Of course, we had so many. If we do the cumulative count for the United States, it's over. Let me see. The U.S.
I heard it at least well over 570,000. I would think probably higher than that.
Oh no, we're in the millions as far as deaths.
Oh, as far as cases, yeah. But as far as the number of fatalities, I haven't seen much on that lately.
I had it written down here somewhere, but I can't even read my own writing. It's so crazy.
No, I think Louisiana's doing better than we had been.
Yeah.
At least I don't know if it started going back up again.
I have a list. It has all the states. Louisiana currently has the number of cases, reported cases, is at 463,517. And that was as of last updated the 12th of May. And that per capita, per 100,000 people, that's 9,971. The ones that have the worst per capita seem to be up in the upper Midwest.
Really?
Yeah, let me see. Per capita, Tennessee's not good. Let me see. Go this way. This is the cases. North Dakota's really bad. 14,000 per 100,000 people. I think that's one of the top ones. Rhode Island, and I think South Dakota is really bad too. But
I think the Dakotas would be good, because they're so far.
Per 1,000, if you compare to how many people are there, and the thing is about the Dakotas, there's so much of the area that's not really inhabited that much.
Yeah.
So people are concentrated in the smaller areas. But deaths, the top deaths, but California had so many. But if you do per 100,000, it's 9,521 people per 100,000. But we're talking 3,761,000, almost 62,000 cases, and 62,365 deaths, which is the top. About that, that's the most.
Yeah.
And then there's Texas and New York, and then Florida. And,
okay, that sounds about right.
Yeah, and Illinois is not so good either, nor is Pennsylvania. 24 and 26,000, 25,000 in New Jersey. But if you get into the tens, Michigan had 19,500 deaths. Massachusetts, 17,000. That's a little state. 17,690, where they had 698,427 cases, but that's 10,133 per 100,000 people. Louisiana's below that 10,000 threshold for cases, but we've had over 10,000, almost 10,500 deaths.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got the whole list here. We can probably post that on our Facebook. It's interesting that a big jump for like the second wave for Japan, they have 6,360 cases. That's the most they've ever had as of May the 11th. And they're the ones trying to get everything set up to have the Olympics, which is not good.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's not, that's still not as many cases as some of these larger countries. And the population is, pretty dense in Japan. So it's not showing per capita, but the fact is that they're the worst that they've been since COVID started. And South Korea had a bump April 24th where they were they didn't exceed the peak, which was 1,237 daily cases around Christmas. But on the 24th of April, they started demanding that any foreigners go and get tested. I mean, they were like, it was mandated. You're all going to get tested.
Well,
and that's even if you lived and worked there, that people have to leave work and go get tested.
Yeah, you got to know what you have. I mean, here locally, it's like I'm vaccinated. I don't mind wearing a mask inside a store, though. It's not like it's a big deal.
Well,
I don't feel like
now. I cough now in the morning, and I'm like, I don't know why. I didn't cough quite like this. A little bit, but mostly it was just like a breathing thing and a sore throat before COVID. Yeah. But now that I've been tested, I've started coughing. But
it could be
saying that the allergies are so much worse. Yeah. The pollen's worse right now. Plus, I was around some people who were smoking, so that probably didn't help.
Yeah, that could be another factor.
Yeah, true. So anyway, take all those things into consideration. Okay, here we have the United States. Our very worst peak for the COVID cases was on January the 8th, where we had, these just the cases? I think so. I think they're the cases. 300,669 as a 7-day average. And right now we're at 38,135.
Oh, wow. That's like we're at 10% of that.
Yeah. Well, maybe 15, possibly.
Okay. Well.
Yeah, because 300,000, 38,000.
Yeah, okay. But you said 330 something or something.
Well,
but
it was
in any case, we're doing a lot better.
300,669 on January.
Oh, okay.
38,135 on May the 11th.
Yeah.
So it's definitely better.
Yeah, it's like all of a sudden we started taking it seriously and started doing stuff.
Well, yeah, and so the concentration of data now is how many vaccines, how many people are vaccinated. That's where all where the direction of our reporting now is concentrated.
Well, it's, I guess, I was pretty happy with my vaccination, other than the microchip and the gene change, the changing my chromosomes. But other than that, hell, it was pretty good.
Yeah. What's interesting is that there's more and more companies that are coming up with vaccines. Like Oxford has just released theirs, and it is, I think, Novak or something like that. And it's they developed theirs as a, like, where this is, I think what's getting mixed up is the fact that they're doing some what do you call it? They're changing. I
For
forget
variant,
that they're
booster shots?
changing the makeup artificially of like one virus, like a virus or something that gives chimpanzees sneezing, and they're able to whatever genetic, genomic, whatever. They're changing.
Genetically?
They're genetically changing. I'm sorry, y'all. It's like a brain fart. Yeah, genetically, they're modifying the look of this thing to where it's more like the COVID molecule. So
Like the spike proteins,
looks
stuff like that?
exactly like it to the immune system, and it says that it will fight it directly. And so these other ones that are not so embraced by the United States, we've got some of them too, and I think they said that we were sending the AstraZeneca to India, and it's interesting because Korea has been. Somebody said that Samsung is devoting one of their facilities to making the Pfizer vaccine, but that's not true.
Oh, really? It's not, huh?
Yeah, no, it's not true. It's not true. That's according to Samsung, they're not doing that.
I keep getting advertised. They want me to buy a new phone, a 5G, but
I don't have a 5G. I have just a regular A51, and I had the devil trying to find a protective case for it. In fact, it took so long that I broke my phone before I got my case.
That's a shame.
I've dropped it. I can't tell you how many times. So it must be a pretty good screen because it's only got one little crack in it. It's hard to see, except if you hold it at just the right angle. I don't know what that means.
It's a mystery.
It's gonna do like a foundation and get bigger and bigger.
I don't know. I guess it depends on how the cracks are.
Depends on how I drop it the next time, huh?
Yeah.
I just don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of different options coming there, and they just, the sad thing is that we're not safe from this thing until we actually suppress it everywhere.
Well, with the variants, I think they're. I got the Johnson & Johnson, and I guess the thing about that particular variety is it's possible. Well, yeah, that's a great thing. And it was, really quick and easy. But they say that it's extremely unlikely that you'll ever get a bad case of the Rona having taken the Johnson & Johnson, which is, that's, don't want a bad case of it, that's for sure. But,
don't want any case of it, actually. But,
right.
And then too, we've developed to where the testing has gone to actually embrace a greater population, down to like 12 years old, and they're looking into even further along. The big question is that all this is experimental in a way,
Well, yeah, but the more people that catch it, the more opportunities it has to mutate, and the more dangerous it becomes. And it's like, it's something that needs to be dealt with. And, we're kind of behind the curve. Still, we're a lot better off than we were, but still, we kind of got behind the curve on it to start with. And that caused a lot of unnecessary deaths, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hopefully hopefully India will get things, where they're better situated to take care of things, and people aren't going to need to turn to such dire measures to try and protect themselves, because they're reverting back to some really old stuff that even makes voodoo look.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't heard about that, I guess.
Well, it's more basic. They're just covering themselves in cow dung.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's always a good one.
Not exactly healthy, but
I was going to do that. But,
I guess it would raise your immune system, maybe, but make you sick in the
I have no idea what it does. Maybe
my heart goes
it's
out to
a natural social distancing thing. People don't want to get next to you.
Yeah.
So they
yeah. All right. Well, we're going to advocate for sharing the wealth. How about that? And when it comes to COVID vaccines,
I think it's a good idea.
Open it up and let everybody get vaccinated, and utilize those networks that we have for spreading the cure.
Yeah, exactly. Spreading it around the world. I mean, which, you were talking about some of the stuff with China, and we hadn't really mentioned Russia, but they're actually contributing to the solution quite a bit as far as providing vaccines to countries that are not so able to get them as some of the other countries. So that's a good thing.
All right. Sounds good.
Well,
on that upward note, goodbye, everybody.
Yeah, I guess it's about that time. And y'all have a great day, and come visit us on Facebook.